Welcome in, everybody. This is the Agnihotra Ladies, the Cosmic Clinic. I'm the Agnihotra Lady, and we're broadcasting live at Shantivilla Institute. The main campus is in historic Tuskegee, Alabama, and we're at the Conyers location now, Shantivilla, Atlanta. Thanks for joining me this evening. And the topic of tonight's talk is to the scientists, there is a solution to pollution. And so I'll be outlining some very specific things for scientists to be able to deal with the issues that we have going on with pollution. And there are two different things that need to happen. And I'm happy to that we're able to share this information with you. So as usual, let's go ahead and get started with the Varuti mantra, and then we can start with the talk. Swaha, Agnihotra Namah Swaha, Vayaveda Namah Swaha, Sriyaya Namah Bhurva Swaha, Prajapatiya Namah. Okay, so let's jump right into the talk. So, as we know from viewing the headlines, that there are all sorts of things that are happening with unusual weather, hot temperatures, and various disease outbreaks that are happening. Monkeypox, they said that the cases of that, they're increasing, and there's a lot of things that are happening with the planet and the people and the animals that live upon the planet. And like I've said many times before, that as the pollution increases, there will be more incidences of people in physical and mental distress. And that's not a coincidence, because the planet is inside of each and every one of us, and we're inside the planet. Okay, our bodies and what is composed of our bodies is throughout this planet and in the universe. So when there is distress with the weather and these diseases, we really have to pay close attention to what's going on. And so we have various scientists that have been trying to figure various things out for many years, how to solve this problem, but then you cause five other problems, or you think you're trying to perfect on something that nature has established and created in all its perfection, only to destroy the very foundation of civilization. And so this has started with the tampering of atoms, which we have talked about many, many different times. Anytime you tamper with atoms, then you can destroy a whole civilization. That's according to the Vedic science, the wisdom that has been brought forth from, ancient history. And now we are teaching it to the modern world so they can understand, so we all can understand what happens when you go away from that natural order of things. So specifically, I want to talk to the scientists, or if you know some scientists, or if you're a policymaker and you're trying to figure out how to help the community, your state, um, your country, the world at large. These are some very specific things that we know will help the pollution problem. Okay, and as we know that the pollution that we have now, most of it is man-made. So man has tampered with their own existence, with the planet, with their bodily health, and with the behaviors of the animals, and how our food is grown, and all these things, and it's caused imbalance that reverberates from one side of the globe to the next, and no one can escape this pervasive nature of pollution. So for those of you that watch me on a regular basis, you know that here at Shantivilla Institute, for many, many years, Sri Charles, Mama Harriet, and the entire family with the children, and now myself, I'm Sri Charles's wife that he married after Mama Harriet passed away. We have dedicated our lives to teaching the Ayurvedic wisdom of Agnihotra, which is a proven method to reverse pollution and to be able to put nutrients back into our atmosphere. Is performed in a copper pyramid, and we use dried cow dung, we use brown rice, and we use ghee. And this is timed to the circadian rhythm of nature, which is at sunrise and sunset. So at sunrise, there's a flood of energies, ethers, and electricities that cascade upon the planet. And so when we do the mantra in the morning time, we're bringing about a purification, forming a bubble, protective bubble that goes 2 miles up an 8-mile radius, and it puts nutrients back into the atmosphere. So it's a beautiful rejoicing for all the plants and the animals, because we are putting back what we take out of so much, which is causing the imbalance. So that is the basic homifier that can address the pollution issues that we're dealing with. So for scientists that are watching right now, you can look back at previous Facebook posts, Facebook Lives about the very specific nature of Agnihotra, because that is the first step in which you can address the pollution. But the basic ingredients are dried cow dung, okay? We have ghee, which is nothing but unsalted butter. Can you see that? Oops, I don't want to spill it. That has been, there you go. That has been boiled for about 20 minutes. And then you have brown, just regular brown rice. These are the basic ingredients, okay, of what we put inside the Agnihotra pyramid. So at sunrise, we say Sanskrit mantra. We say Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Namama, Prajapatiye Swaha, Prajapatiye Namama. And that is the beginning of the first 12 hours of the 24-hour cycle of the circadian rhythm. And then at sunset begins the second 12-hour period. And we say Agniye Swaha, Agniye Namama, Prajapatiye Swaha, Prajapatiye Namama. And then that's what we say for the evening mantra. And so anytime we say Swaha, we get the brown rice and we put it inside the copper pyramid. So this is specifically tuned to the circadian rhythm. For any scientists that are watching, you know that everything runs on cycles with this planet, with, you know, sunrise, sunset, hibernation periods for animals. Humans, ourselves, our bodies are run on cycles. Everything is tuned in to the cycles of the moon and things like that. So this is the basic process of Agnihotra. And you can go to Google Scholar and look at the many scientific studies that have been done on Agnihotra, how it addresses pollution. And specifically, pay close attention to homofarming, which the process of Agnihotra and using the resultant ash, the byproduct of the Agnihotra process, is able to restore soil. So tonight, we're saying to you, the scientists, that the answer to all the problems that you're trying to solve is in the soil and the plants. The soil and the plants. We need, for you scientists, to go back to the past to address the present pollution crisis, so that way we can go forth with hope into the future. You're going to have to go back to the past and understand that the answers are in the soil and the plants. And so the first part of what to do to solve this issue is to get the soil back revitalized, filled with nutrients, to stop tampering with the food, with this technology, with the food, with messes with the very essence and the vibration of the plants. Okay, that is the key. And the reason why we say the soil and the plants, because plants, soil, that's all over the world. That's universal to everyone. Okay, from one corner to the next corner, everybody has access to soil and plants. This planet is, that's what it's made for, to grow food, to nourish the animals and to nourish humans, because we're animals as well too. So that's the first step. Once you do Agnihotra, and there are other homifiers to boost the effects of Agnihotra, and you get the oil, the soil established and the plants back healthy, and you get the food to be growing nutritiously without all of these being rampant with plant diseases and insects that are hard to kill, and you got to spray all these pesticides, you will find that the diseases that are happening to humans now, they will recede, because it all starts with what is happening with the plants when we dump the pollution into the air, when we are growing these GMO, these Frankenstein plants. Okay, you're messing with the very vibration of the planet. You are disrupting the ion balance, okay, that pervades everything. So as you know, when the sun interacts with the plants, this is how the plants generate the food. Okay, the byproduct is oxygen, which we need to breathe, and they receive the nitrogen from us. So now with ions, we get the positive ions from outer space. We talked about this before. The negative ions come from plants, and about 66% of those ions come from the plants. So you're supposed to have 5% positive ratio to 4% negative. And when you are talking about overabundance of pollution, then you are breaking down how the plants function, which means that everything, which we all depend on plants, that means we're not functioning at full capacity. So we have to get you to understand that we need to clean up the soil in a natural way without these synthetic fertilizers, which mess with the ion balance. So that is the first phase of cleaning up the pollution. So the second phase, scientists, I want you to go to the past, and we want you to go to the past because there was a very astute and knowledgeable scientist. He was an agricultural botanist named George Washington Carver, and he worked at Tuskegee University right here in Tuskegee, Alabama. And he was very in tune into using the soil beneath his feet and the plants that were around him to be able to figure out solutions to all sorts of things that were going on with the soil. At that time, the soil was being monocropped, and you couldn't grow anything on it because monocropping was the cotton. But what Dr. George Washington Carver did, he studied. And not only did he study, and even beyond studying, he actually studied with the divine spirit right behind him, because he had a deep reverence, okay, and respect for plants. So he looked to see how could he recondition the soil and have other things growing. So he was able to utilize peanuts, sweet potatoes, which were not grown in the area at the time, came from another country. And he was able to develop many products with peanuts and sweet potatoes. So I want you to go into his archival notes and look at all the things that he invented. He invented things from things that were alternatives to petroleum-based products. Listen, I'll repeat it again. He created petroleum alternatives by using these methods with the plants and the soil. He even developed a glue that was used to develop the glue for postage stamps. When the World War I was going on, there was a shortage of a lot of different things, and he created a number of different things, from cosmetics and dyes for clothes and all sorts of things for people to be able to function during the wartime. And they came from natural products, and people were astonished that, wow, you can come up with all these things. And furthermore, all the more than 535 uses that he made from his experimenting with peanuts, he basically created an entire peanut derived product industry, with peanut butter and all these things that people were not buying. They didn't have this available. He invented all these things, and without getting a patent on any of these inventions, because he understood that to help mankind with something that was freely available to everyone, it had to be free. So scientists, I want you to go and study Dr. George Washington Carver's notes. I've read some of his old newsletters, because he did a newsletter that he distributed to the farmers in the area, because he was really about helping the poor people, the poor Black people in the area, to get away from just being stuck in poverty, because they thought they could only make money by growing cotton. So he considered himself a servant to other people, to help above anything else. So you have to understand that the problems that we are having with pollution now, not only are you going to have to put on your scientific hat, more importantly, you're going to have to adopt the attitude of reverence and respect for the soil and for the plants, which is what Dr. George Washington Carver did. And that's what made him brilliant, because he understood that whatever answer he needed, he was able to receive by communicating with the plants, experimenting with what was natural, how to solve the issues of that time. And this is a very big issue at that time. I mean, he had people that were trying to hire him away from Tuskegee University to make big money, and everyone was telling him, you can make money. You should have made patents. People make millions of dollars off of his inventions, but he wasn't about the money. He was about the people, and he was about making sure that we kept the soil and the plants intact, so everyone had equal access to healthy food. Okay. He understood that you had to maintain the soil in order to do anything you want to do in society. You had to have healthy soil. And at that time, they were using chemical fertilizers. And when he experimented in his lab, he was doing things naturally. He took some, they call it muck water, from like nearby swamps. He took dried leaves and he made his own organic fertilizer. Okay. He was the original environmental sustainable scientists back in the day, before we have all this phrasing that we call people. or this industry with sustainable and environmental. So I want you to go to the archives. You can, I don't know what, I found the newsletter by looking at some archives on Tuskegee University's website, but I'm sure that some of these things may be listed on Google Scholar. If they're not, scientists, I need you to go and find those experiments specifically to all the things that he invented. So let me name some of the things that he invented from that dealt with the soil and the plants, because I wrote some of these down. So cosmetics, I already said. Petroleum substitute. Okay. Shampoos. I already said dyes. He even invented some natural blue, very beautiful, sharp blue dye that some of the Egyptologists was like, wait a minute, we've only seen this deep of blue when we've studied things, when we studied the pyramids and some of the remains in Egypt. So, but there are many different things. And printer ink, cosmetics, axle grease, coffee, all from peanuts and sweet potatoes. So I'm not telling you to use all those items. What I want you to do, scientists, is to really adopt this attitude of going back to the source, having the reverence and respect and the deep love that Dr. George Washington Carver had for plants and soil, and take that, and you will find the answers you need to solve the pollution problem we're having now. You have to go back to the past to solve the present problems that we have with this pollution crisis, so that way we can walk into the future knowing that we've taken care of the mother. It is imperative that you take these steps immediately, because we are beyond the tipping point. So remember, the first step, Agnihotra. You can look this up. You can give us a call here at Shantivilla Institute, and there are other people that practice Agnihotra, millions of people all over the world. So whether you get in contact with me or not, you can go, see this being demonstrated in an area near you. We are in Tuskegee, Alabama, and we also in Conyers, Georgia. So, more than happy to demonstrate how this is done, and go to Google Scholar to look up the numerous studies that have been done in other countries. That's the first step. We have to clean up the soil. Once we clean up the soil, then things will fall into place. Okay. And once we clean up the soil and use these natural methods, then, we're much more cognizant of what happens with our air. Okay. And our water quality. They kind of go hand in hand. Once you fix that, then things fall into place. So we're talking about an entire ecosystem, not just dealing with the plants, but the plants, because water, rains and plants absorb it. You have runoff, then that goes into other bodies of water. We have to get you to deal with the soil now. So recently, some of you may be aware that Sadhguru Jaggi is on a international tour called Save Soil. So he's encouraging everyone, including people that make policies and decisions about ecology in their areas, to adopt changes to take care of the planet. So this is not just something I'm talking about. We've always talked about Agnihotra for many, many years. My husband, Sri Charles, he taught Agnihotra for more than 46 years. Okay. So what we're saying is that you need to adopt some natural ways and not continue to do experiments that is continually destroying the nature of the atom, continually having the ions off balance, and continually having everything and everyone off balance. We have to get you back to the natural way of doing things, because please know, this planet has existed for millions of years. Okay. The planet does not need us to survive. We need the planet to survive. As arrogant with our thinking, that we can have that type of arrogant thinking. Oh no, the planet doesn't need us. So, but if you want to stay on the planet and raise your children and be able to work your jobs, whether you're a scientist or homemaker or wherever you work, if you work at Walmart or whatever, just know that you as an individual, any and everyone can do Agnihotra, okay? And to the scientists, once you establish something where you're having clean soil enough that you can develop some things to help with the environment, replacing some of these synthetic products that are being produced on a large scale, this is when you will see the noticeable difference in the air quality. Okay? Because now we got more and more people who never had asthma, have asthma now. I have a friend that lives in Utah. She says the Great Salt Lake river is all dried up just within 3 years when she moved to this area near there. That's craziness. Okay, and she says now it's more pollutants going up in the air because there's no filtration there with the water. So you will find that a lot of these problems, serious problems that we're having with droughts and other tornadoes and things like that, they will recede. The diseases will recede, but you have to listen and act now. First step, Agnihotra. Second step, study Dr. George Washington Carver. Okay, you need to study his notes, look at his experiments, and you need to duplicate what he did. Now understand that the answer is right beneath your feet in the soil, in the plants. Go back to the soils and the plants. Okay, there's wisdom there. There's wisdom there. And George Washington Carver, he would talk to the plants. And there's a book called The Secret Life of Plants, and written by the authors, two authors, Tompkins and Bird. And it's interesting because they have a chapter about Dr. George Washington Carver, and it's called The Wizard of Tuskegee. In the India published version, not the American published version, but they have a whole chapter called The Wizard of Tuskegee, talking about George Washington Carver. And I thought it was very interesting. Oh, they didn't have that chapter in the U.S. version of that book. I think the original book was published in 1973 or 74. And the India version of that book talks about George Washington Carver, Dr. George Washington Carver. So I need you to look at his research notes, his experiments, and look at the things that he did with the peanut and the sweet potato. Look at the methods that he used to deal with the soil and deal with the plants. And like I said, you need to take this attitude of humble servant, just like he did, and understand you're here to serve and not destroy. Okay? So please heed what we're saying. These are the specific steps on how to solve these issues. He was a true scientist, Dr. George Washington Carver, because he wasn't about destroying. He wasn't about money and recognition, even though people knew who he was. He was very humble. So we need you to adopt a humble attitude while you deal with these things that are happening. And just think about it. You can't keep having these discoveries in scientific ways that you're doing things and you're destroying more things than you're helping and creating. That is not true science. True science does not destroy. Okay? And so there's these tampering of the atoms. So scientists, I know that you're curious and you want to know all these things, but the worst thing that you have done is tampering with atoms, because you don't understand that even the smallest, most minute level of atoms, there's even something more minute on the subtlest of levels that you cannot understand because you're using instruments. Okay, you have no idea what creation is. And Sri Charles talked about this. So you're never going to find what you're looking for, because the reason why you're looking for it is wrong and you're not humble. And so the very subtle aspect of what is beyond the subatomic level. This is what we're talking about, the divine presence, the divine intelligence that gave you your thinking and your mind and just you being in existence. You have no idea of what that is. You need to understand that you can't understand everything. And that CERN experiment is a prime example of that. The CERN experiment that they're doing between, is that Switzerland and France. That's atom smasher, atom collider machine. No way. You're arrogantly messing with the very fabric of what exists for all of us in our bodies, the entire planet and universe. So they are not reporting all the things that have been happening to people over there that have been dealing with that experiment. And I won't get into it too much on Facebook Live, but it's not what they expected. Because like I said, the atom, okay, this is creation. And you can't tamper with that. Anytime you tamper with that, okay, you reap what you sow. You can't just do that and not expect some sort of horrible outcome to come from that. And look at everything that's happening now in the world. It has been said by many wise ones that the time is now for all the things that we have done to destroy is coming back to bite us. Coming back to bite us. So take heed, scientists. Take heed. And everyone that is watching, you can do Agnihotra to be part of the solution, because you don't have to fight any organization or any big business. You yourself can do Agnihotra to purify your environment. It goes 8 miles up and 2-mile radius. You can use the ash to grow food. And every week and every day we're hearing about food recalls. Due to the salmonella and all these different things that are happening. So we have the monkeypox that has come about now. Now the next thing that will happen would be something dealing with more of these amoebas. So that's the next thing. And we've already released these biotech insects. They talked about the mosquitoes the last year or two. So from that will come the next plague to humanity that we brought upon ourselves. So please understand, you reap what you sow. And many wise ones have talked about this. Many masters, the Avatar Paramasaguru Sri Gajana Maharaj, talked about these things. Master Savant, Sri Yanimasa, also known as Sri Charles. So I'm here to tell you what is happening, will get worse, and will continue to happen. So the amoebas, okay, talking about these brain-eating diseases that people get in water. That's next. And then the biotech with these insects, these mosquitoes, okay. Remember, these insects are vital to when and how we're growing our food. So now we have these biotech bugs that are eaten by other animals, and that animal's eaten by other animals, okay. And then humans are eating the bigger animals. I'm just telling you what we know and what we need to be prepared for because of the bad decision making here on this planet. We are warning you. We have given you these instructions, hoping that you would pay attention and do the things that we've outlined to save the planet. If you have any questions, feel free to go to shantivillainstitute.com. That's SHANTI, villainstitute.com. You can direct message me on the Shanti Villa Facebook page or the Shanti Villa Atlanta Facebook page or my personal page, or email me at shantivillainstitute@gmail.com. We are here to assist everyone to saving the planet, revitalizing the planet, protecting Mother Earth. So whatever we can do to assist, please let us know, and we are here to serve. Thank you for joining us tonight. Until the next time I see you on the Agnihotra Ladies, the Cosmic Clinic, be blessed.